were mesmerized by your words to the extent that they would overlook your actions or make excuses for your actions because you talk so high and mighty. You talked about such lofty morals. So it's disconcerting, it's disorienting because your actions have always been the polar opposite of what you talk about. They can see that you have only ever used morals and values as a camouflage, as a disguise. So the veil has been lifted and there's no putting it back. Like I said, Western civilization is an imposter. And in 2023, you've been thoroughly found out. There is almost no one in the world who doesn't know who you really are.
Everything I'm about to say, you already know it to be true. You are a slave. You are a slave to money, to social economics, to status, to politics, to ideology. You have sold your soul to have a place in a world order that you should naturally oppose. In 1988, the so-called East Coast all-star rappers released a song called Headed for Self-Destruction. In 1990, the West Coast did the same thing, called All in the Same Gang. Y'all might want to pull them up, right? Self-destruction and All in the Same Gang. One of the things that inspired both of these movements was street violence. But the problem that I've always had being a street dude is the understanding of how abnormal street life it really is, right? If we are headed for self-destruction, it's not because of street violence. Not at all. If we are headed for self-destruction, it's not because of illiteracy rates. It's not because of children born out of wedlock. You know, I mean, anything you can blame that the society used to blame, it's not the reason we're headed for self-destruction. Things were better when we didn't care. The least we cared about being mainstream, the better off the black community was. The least we cared about, trying to be rich, the better the black community was. We were so focused on keeping up with the Joneses that we just abandoned our own. We so badly wanted to live around white folks that that all we did was justify getting away from black people. And as human beings, we have a tendency to justify our actions, right? People do something based on something else, right? And after they do it, when it's brought to the spotlight that they're doing it, they try to give a reason to justify why they are doing it. But oftentimes the reason is not the real reason. It's just an excuse. The real reason why we started fleeing the black community had nothing to do with crime in the black community. Yes, it's bad now, but that's not why we fled the black community. We fled the black community because we wanted to be around whites. We fled the black community because we felt like being around whites represented moving up in status, moving up in class. See, self-destruction simply means that you have no pride in the self. It means that you are not willing to invest in the self. It's the same thing with your physical body, right? If you are not willing to put certain types of foods in your body, you are headed for self-destruction. If you are not willing to at least exercise, like I got my old ass up this morning and exercise, you know what I'm saying? If you're not willing to exercise, that means you don't care about yourself and you're headed for self-destruction. Well, it's the same thing. If you don't invest time and energy into bettering yourself and your condition, then you don't care about yourself. But we think that the thing that betters us is money. We think that the thing that better us is being like whites, being like or liked by white folks. And that's what I wanted to get y'all to understand. We are headed for self-destruction, but it's our fault and it has nothing to do with street violence. Street life is rare. Very few people run the streets. I find it silly that we blame Pookie and Ray Ray for everything when most of us, 99% of us, have nothing to do with that world. How can we take something that only a fraction of the people or participating in and act like this is what's affecting all of us. There's something wrong with your thinking. There is no way what goes on in those streets is the reason why we are all headed for self-destruction. It has to be something else, because that world is not participated in by enough of us. Did I say that clear? That world is not participated in by enough of us for that world to be the reason why we are headed for self-destruction. Them over there have nothing to do with it. We are in this situation because of the people that we look up to, because of the people with college degrees, because of the people with status, because of the people with money, because of the people that we see on TV. These are the people that are moving us in the wrong direction, not Pookie and Ray Ray. You have to understand that. You have to understand that. So if we need to make a change, we need to actually look at who's really moving the needle, because nobody's trying to be like Pookie and Ray Ray in their right mind, which means we are not being influenced in any kind of way by that boy. Although we act like we are, we keep blaming that, but them people ain't got no influence on nobody, because that lifestyle they live, nobody wants to live it. Y'all always talk about the criminal elements and stuff, like every nigga in jail. Do y'all realize how few people are in prison? They say in prison and on paper, it's like 2 million people in America. That's in prison and on paper. That's not a lot of people. We had 330-something million people in this country. 2 million is not even 1%. I'm gonna say it again. We have 330-some-odd million people in this country. 2 million is not even 1%. And y'all trying to convince, and all that 1% ain't all blacks. Blacks are only, I think blacks might make up something like 35% of the prison population. That's it. Y'all tend to forget everybody go to prison. Whites, Asians, Mexicans, everybody's in there. See, they always try to give you these broke down statistical numbers to try to make it seem like it's nothing but black people in prison. But no, you know what I'm saying? We might be a huge population because we're targeted more, but we probably no more than 35%. See, they lie about everything, and y'all don't ever question nothing because y'all believe the lies. How in the hell can that fraction be the reason why we are in the condition that we're in? Well, because everything they do reflects on how. How? Obviously, we are not doing nothing better. Obviously, we are not, I mean, Dr. Umar is always online making controversial statements about everything, hating on white girls and all this stuff, but what is he doing? Positive. What is he really doing? He talk about a school to do what? Teach more white lies because you can't teach what you want. What? It's illegal. The school has to be accredited, and being that he is bragging on his 4-5 degrees, he's not going to go against that accreditation system of education. All he's going to do is teach black children white lies. That's not going to help us. This is why we are where we are, because the more we invest in the system, the worse off we have gotten, right? The worse off our reality has been. When we didn't care about them people, we were better off. So yes, we are headed for self-destruction. But it's because of the people that y'all look up to, not because of the ones at the bottom. And we are not in the same game. We need to stop speaking for us all. We need to stop having these singular people in the media talking for all of us. It's not working. It has never worked. Because we all don't think alike. We all don't act alike. We don't want the same things outside of assimilating. The only thing that we have in common, right? The reason why they get away with it, because the one thing we seem to all collectively want is to somehow assimilate into white society. And that's the problem. That's why we headed for self-destruction. Just think about it. Till next time, out in Brother Kush, aka the Black Elf. Salam.